Thanks for clicking on Wayne.com for this week's edition of Inside the Zone, the voice of the Komets. Shane Albahrani here with us, talking Komets hockey, and not a great middle of the week, but a good end of the week, especially when you consider Brampton historically has played you guys pretty tough. It's been tough to go up to their place, but pulling out a couple of wins and scoring 4 goals in every single game last week, it kind of shows you that the offense at least going in the right direction, for sure.
Yeah, offense is starting to click. You're starting to see timely goal scores, and that's what you need. You're getting that first goal, and you're getting that last goal, which means that's always a good sign. And scoring 4 goals, if you consistently score 4 goals, you're going to win a lot of hockey games.
Yeah, that was the average last year, number 1 in the ECHL, averaging just a smidge over 4 goals a game. This team has been closer to 3 goals a game, so when you add that extra goal, and part of it is
big.
It's big. And the power play, we saw 2 power play goals this past week. So what is it about special teams that you see that may be improving as we get ready for the playoffs? Because in the postseason, you don't get that many power play opportunities. You got to take advantage of them.
Yeah, 5 straight games with the power play, and that was, I'm guessing, the longest stretch this team has had all season. And that, it has been, the power play has been an issue, but we have seen it now with everybody getting back in the lineup. That's a huge thing, getting guys back. Getting guys comfortable with each other and getting that power play to sync up. And we saw it. And now even when the team doesn't score a power play goal, it looks a lot better. They're getting a lot more opportunities, which is going to increase the chances. And it's just a better looking unit over the past couple weeks.
Okay, before we talk about the 2 games at Brampton, the game at Cincinnati was kind of out of Gary Graham's nightmare, because it's one of the things that he has certainly stressed about the way this team closes out games. You're up 4-1 at Cincinnati. Kind of could be a statement game. You've played well at Cincinnati this year. Up 4-1 early in the 4th, and then give up 4 consecutive, including the game winner with like 18, 19 seconds to go.
Yeah, you know what? It's another one of those bad dream games that, any sport, once it's over, you got 5 minutes to get over it, and that's what this team did. So it was an unfortunate thing that happened, and you jump out to a 4-1 lead against a team like Cincinnati, number 1 team in the ECHL, but a team that the Komets have played very well all season long, 4-4 against them, and now 4-5. But when you got a team that good, you can't take your foot off the gas, and that's what happened in those final 4 minutes. And that team, they got their opening with about 8.5 left. They got that power play goal, and then they could start to believe it, because you could kind of tell the wind was coming out of their sails and out of the building and everything when the Komets scored that 4th goal in the 3rd period. But as soon as they got that little glimmer of hope, a team that good was going to just crash the net, and that's what they did. And you tip their cap to them. They didn't give up, but it's also kind of a learning moment for this team. It's like, hey, we know we can't do that, and we know against a team as good as Cincinnati, we have got to just keep going to the net.
Well, the good news is they turn around, they flush it pretty quickly. They head up to Brampton, a 6-7 hour road trip outside of Toronto, and you're talking about they win 4-1, they win 4-2 in those 2 games. So what did they do from Wednesday night to Saturday and Sunday to kind of right the ship, or was it just a case of being able to hang on to those leads, I guess is what I'm trying to insinuate. How are they able to do that a little bit better?
Well, I think you had 2 totally different teams. You have a team in Cincinnati that's highly skilled that will go end-to-end with you, or a team like Brampton who tries to slow you down. A lot of the plays in the neutral zone, a lot of plays on the walls. So I think it was more or less more to the Komets' style of play. It was more to their liking. So I think that was the kind of the game. Really, it suited us best coming out of that game on Cincinnati to have 2 games that were a bit slower. We didn't have to have a track meet up and down the ice. We could play the system, and guys, did not have to worry about playing this run and gun style of hockey, and were able to play their game. So I think it was more or less we actually lucked out having Brampton in the next 2 games.
When you take a look at some of the guys of the weekend, who are some of the guys that kind of stuck out to you? Because Martineau continues to do what he does. I think he had 5 points for the weekend. Sid had 5 assists, I believe, for the weekend. Zach in goal played pretty well. Who are some of the guys that you saw this weekend that impressed? And who are, obviously I mentioned some of the guys that you can see statistically, but in your eyes, some of the guys that maybe don't show up on the stat sheet, who are some guys that impressed you?
Sean Flanagan. He is right now the most impressed player I've seen in the past couple of months. We picked him up the day before Jason Binkley got hurt. So that was
fortuitous.
Right. So you get Sean Flanagan now. He had a big goal yesterday. He had one in Cincinnati. on Wednesday. It was his first 2 goals of the season, but he is getting really comfortable, and he is a really good puck handling defenseman, and he's also a great defenseman. So it's like you're starting to you got a guy now who can definitely put up some numbers offensively and play strong with the blue line, and that's the guy who we've been looking for all season. And it looks like Sean Flanagan is turning into that guy.
Well, one of the things that one stat that sticks out to me after this weekend is in 1-goal games, you guys have played 32 of them this season, and in 1-goal games, you guys are 18, 5, and 9, so you're picking up a point at least in 27 of 32 1-goal games. What is it about this team that, when it's a close game like that, they seem to be able to pull it out?
Yeah,
which is kind of contrary to what we've been talking about, but like statistically, it's been pretty good.
Yeah, if you try and run the numbers and look at actually how this team plays, you're not going to find any correlation. It's an odd year. But, some of those 1-goal games were games where we came back 2 goals down in the third period. Game up in Kalamazoo a couple weeks ago, that's the case. But, this team, when they know they're down, it's obviously they're playing differently when they've got the lead when they're down. So, when you're down a couple goals, of course, they're going to keep on crashing. But, the problem has just been, getting that first goal and then being able to stick to it. Because once the Komets score first, or when I believe Wednesday's game was the first time we'd lost a game in regulation when we had the lead after the first period. I think we're 14-1-2. So that shows you how good starts. That means a lot to this team.
Yeah.
So.
What also means a lot to this team is the play of JC. What has he been able to do? How's he been able to hit the ground running for this team? And you take a look now, after a couple goals this past weekend, the guy's got 33 for the season. That, in recent history for the Komets, that's a ton.
Yeah.
And also, it's currently, I believe, second in the ECHL,
Yeah.
so he's right up there. Chasing the lead as far as the league goes.
Yeah, he's actually tied briefly for a few hours there yesterday, actually having a share of the lead. But now he's 1 goal back. But JC, he's a flat-out goal scorer. I mean, he is one of the purest goal scorers we've seen in the ECHL era. I mean, he is a sniper out there, and it's one of the best wrist shots I've seen. I mean, going all the way back, going back 20, 30 years. I haven't seen anyone with that kind of control with that wrist shot. So. It comes with getting the right guys to play with him, because you got to have a good setup guy. And now that Justin Hodgman is back in the lineup, a guy who knows how to set up goal scorers, there's no stopping those two in the right situation. But, 33 goals for JC. I think the last 40 goal scorer, I think, was 07, 08. So it's been a while since a guy have reached 40. Now he's got a chance to do that.
And with Zach in goal, he's been playing some really good hockey. He's started 12 straight, which is the first time a goalie for the Komets has started 12 straight since 2016. Pat Nagel, if I remember from back in the day. But, Vegas may need him to move up. How do you guys adjust, and how does this team adjust when somebody like Zach gets called up, especially if it's this week at some point?
Yeah, we don't know. Marc-Andre Fleury in Las Vegas is day-to-day. Don't know how that's going to affect us as of right now. But, it's something you deal with. We know the situation with Zach, and that's why we have Eric Levine back there. He's a guy who reminds me a lot of Garrett Bardis. And actually, ironically, they're best friends.
Oh, really?
So Garrett Bardis is a guy who came in a few years ago after Pat Nagel was injured. He pretty much saved the Komet season. Last year, he didn't play for a month, and he got thrown into Game 2 of the conference final, and he won that game. And that's the same way we feel about Eric Levine. He is a guy he's a professional. He's been around, and he takes his role seriously. He knows what it is, and if it turns out that he is going to have to be in there for a while, we have 100% confidence in Eric Levine.
Well, no matter who's in goal, it's a busy week.
Yeah.
Actually, it's busy until the end of the regular season. You got 11 games in 19 days. Is there does Gary change anything? Are there any, practice changes, maybe not going so hard? What kind of, knowing that you've got important hockey and you've got a very short period to play it in, does anything really change for this team?
No, I think it's more on the players. It's like, we know what the grind is. Everybody just needs to take personal responsibility and take care of their own bodies and take care of, but there's things out of our control. We had the flu, went through the locker room the past couple of weeks. Jake Camras and Trey Phillips, they didn't make the trip because every team is kind of dealing with that as well. But it's just a matter of everyone just taking care of themselves. We know it's going to be a mad dash to the finish, and I think that might actually play in the Komets' favor because there's no let up, there's no chance to think about it. It's like you have got this, if you have a bad game, it's got to be flushed, and you got to move on to the next one, and there's no margin for error as we're coming up on 11 games to play.
Yeah, and this week you've got 4 games: Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all division games. You've got Kalamazoo, Cincinnati, at Indy, at Toledo. What's the approach this week? Because these are games that will affect the standings. The standings are a little more set than they were a few weeks ago, but there's still room for a little movement up and down.
Yeah.
So how do you approach a week like this, knowing you're playing a lot of hockey, a lot of important hockey, and you're playing, back to back to back over the weekend after a Wednesday game?
Yeah, I mean, you just need points. I mean, that's the only way you have to look at it. And the Komets are in a weird spot when you look at the standings. It's like you can see second place. It's actually there. You could actually reach out and touch it, but you cannot forget about the teams behind you. Just a few points back. So you just take care of your own business. You win hockey games. You can't worry about what anybody else is doing, and it's just gonna work out good in the end if you just win hockey games. So that's all you need to worry about.
As a broadcaster, do you look forward to a week like this? Because you're like, I'm on the mic 4 nights, 4 and 5 days.
Yeah, I'm like the players. I mean, I like to, you like to keep it going. You like to, if you're on a roll, keep on going. So no, I enjoy it. The travel sometimes, just like anyone else, it may wear you down. But no, I mean, the fact that all these games down the stretch are going to be meaningful, is also very exciting. And this season as a whole, as a broadcaster, 32 one-goal games, you know what? It's been some pretty good hockey, and it's been some pretty exciting theater out there. So I know I'm excited for the end of the season.
Well, we'll have a lot to talk about next week. Again, 4 games in 5 days to wrap this week up, and we'll be back on Monday talking about Komets hockey here on Inside the Zone. For Shane, I'm Glenn. We'll see you next week.